Hello, Virgo. Everything shifts when you finally see yourself clearly. And maybe that's happening right now. Maybe this exact moment, reading these words, breathing this breath, existing in this particular configuration of awareness and readiness. Uh, Maybe this is the inflection point. Maybe this is where trajectory bends towards something completely different from what came before. Not because external circumstances are about to rearrange themselves, not because cosmic forces are aligning on your behalf, not because luck or fate or destiny is about to deliver transformation you've been waiting for, but because you're ready, actually ready, not performatively ready, not hopefully ready, but genuinely, deeply, fundamentally ready to see things you've been avoiding, to choose differently than you've been choosing, to show up as version of yourself you've been postponing while waiting for perfect conditions. And perfect conditions, they're here. They've always been here. They're called now. They're called exactly where you are, with exactly what you have facing, exactly what you're facing. Perfect, not because everything's ideal, but because this is what's real, and real is only place. Transformation actually happens. Fingertips buzzing with energy that feels like anticipation made physical. This is huge. And you know what? It actually might be. Not in way title suggests, not in whole life changing at once way, not in everything suddenly different way, but in quiet, profound, actually sustainable way where you finally stop waiting for external change and start creating internal shift that then radiates outward, reshaping everything it touches. Because internal shifts are huge, are massive, are life altering in ways external changes never are. External circumstances can shift, and you stay exactly the same, experiencing new situation through same patterns, same beliefs, same limitations. But internal shift, that changes how you experience everything. That transforms not just what happens, but how you relate to what happens. That restructures reality not by changing reality, but by changing you. And that's available right now, this moment, not someday, not when conditions align, not after you've prepared more or learned more or become more ready. Now, with whatever awareness you currently have, with whatever clarity you've currently accessed, with whatever willingness to see differently you're currently embodying, you can choose, can decide, can commit to showing up differently, starting this breath, this moment, this interaction. Can stop postponing the person you're capable of being until external validation arrives, confirming it's safe, it's time, it's finally okay to be yourself fully. Can just be, be that person, be that version, be whoever you actually are underneath all the performing and protecting and pretending you've been doing to stay safe, stay acceptable, stay small enough that rejection feels survivable. Chest expanding, like it's making room for something larger than what usually fits. Your whole life is about to change. Maybe that's true. Maybe not in dramatic, sudden way. Maybe not in everything flips overnight way. Maybe not in clear before and after way you can point to and say, there, that's when it happened. That's the moment everything shifted. Maybe it's subtler than that, quieter than that, more gradual than that. Maybe it's changing right now in ways you won't fully recognize until you look back months from now and realize, oh, I'm completely different now. I relate to everything differently now. I choose differently, show up differently, experience everything differently now. Maybe change is already happening, has been happening, is continuing to happen. And you've been so focused on waiting for dramatic shift, for huge transformation, for clear sign that life is changing, that you've been missing all the subtle shifts, all the quiet transformations, all the gradual changes already occurring in how you see, how you choose, how you be. Because change isn't usually dramatic, isn't usually sudden, isn't usually huge in moment it's happening. It's incremental, cumulative, builds slowly through thousands of small choices, small shifts, small moments of choosing differently than you chose before. And those small choices, they're available constantly. Every moment offers opportunity to choose awareness over unconsciousness, to choose growth over comfort, to choose being yourself over performing acceptability. Every interaction provides chance to show up differently. Every challenge creates opening to respond from new place rather than defaulting to old patterns. So maybe your whole life is changing right now, is changing through this very awareness, is changing because you're reading this instead of something else, because you're considering these ideas instead of dismissing them, because something in you is ready to hear that change doesn't require dramatic external event, but rather consistent internal choice. Spine straightening, like it's remembering alignment it forgot was natural. Huge. What makes something huge? Scale, impact, scope, or is hugeness relative? Is what feels huge to you maybe ordinary to someone else? Is what seems small externally maybe massive internally? Because internal transformations are huge, even when they're invisible, even when nobody else notices, even when external life looks exactly the same, but you're experiencing it completely differently because you've shifted how you relate to it. That's huge. That's massive. That's life changing in most fundamental way possible. Not because circumstances transformed, but because you did. Not because external reality shifted, but because internal reality restructured itself around new understanding, new awareness, new way of being. And that restructuring, that's what creates lasting change. That's what generates sustainable transformation. That's what actually makes whole life different rather than just making life look different for a moment before reverting to same patterns and new packaging. So, yes, this could be huge. This moment, this awareness, this readiness to see yourself clearly, to choose consciously, to show up authentically rather than performing continuously. This could be the huge thing. Not because anything external is about to happen, but because you're about to let something internal shift that's been wanting to shift, waiting to shift, ready to shift. If you just stop holding it in place through fear or habit or belief that who you currently are is who you have to stay being. You don't. You can change, can shift, can become, can evolve into the version of yourself that's more aligned, more authentic, more fully expressed, not through waiting for permission, but through choosing it, through deciding it. through showing up as it even when it feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, uncertain. Solar plexus warming like there's small sun burning gently in center of my body. About to change, future tense, imminent, on the verge, about to happen. And maybe that's accurate. Maybe you are on edge of transformation. Maybe shift is close, coming, nearly here. Or maybe shift is already happening, is occurring right now, is in process. And about to is just how we talk about change when we can't see it clearly yet, when we sense something different emerging but can't quite name it, can't quite grasp it, can't quite point to it and say, yes, there, that's the new thing, that's what's different. Because transformation doesn't announce itself, doesn't arrive with fanfare, doesn't make itself obvious in moment it's occurring. It's subtle, gradual, easy to miss if you're looking for dramatic shift rather than noticing quiet adjustments in how you perceive, how you respond, how you be. So maybe your life isn't about to change. Maybe it's changing right now. Maybe it's been changing. Maybe you're in the middle of transformation you haven't fully recognized yet because you've been expecting it to look different, feel different, be more obvious than gradual shift in awareness actually is. And that's okay. That's actually beautiful because gradual change is sustainable change, is change that lasts, is change that integrates into who you are rather than being dramatic shift that feels exciting temporarily before reverting to familiar patterns. So let it be gradual, let it be subtle, let it be quiet transformation that builds through consistent choices rather than dramatic event that promises everything different overnight. Let it be real change rather than performative change. Let it be actual growth rather than appearance of growth. Because real transformation, it's happening right now through your willingness to consider new perspectives, through your openness to seeing yourself differently, through your readiness to question patterns rather than defending them, through your capacity to sit with these ideas rather than dismissing them as not applicable, not relevant, not for you. That's change. That's transformation. That's life shifting in fundamental way, even though externally everything might look exactly the same. A throat opening like passage that was constricted is finally relaxing, allowing fuller breath, whole life, everything, complete transformation, total restructuring, not just some aspects changing while others stay same. Everything, every area, every relationship, every pattern, every way of being. And you know what? That's possible, actually possible, not through external circumstances magically aligning, not through someone else doing work for you, not through cosmic intervention rearranging your reality, but through you choosing consistently to be different in every area, every relationship, every interaction, through you bringing new awareness to old patterns, through you questioning beliefs you've been accepting as truth, through you choosing differently in moments where you'd usually default to familiar response, through you showing up authentically in spaces where you'd usually perform. That consistency, that choosing differently across all areas of life, that creates whole life change. Not overnight, not suddenly, but cumulatively. Through steady application of new awareness to every aspect of existence, through refusing to compartmentalize growth to only be new version in some areas while staying old version in others, through integrating, through embodying, through being version of yourself across all contexts rather than only in safe contexts, while reverting to old patterns when challenged or uncomfortable or uncertain. And that integration, that's huge. That's whole life transformation. That's everything changing, not because circumstances shifted, but because you're different in every circumstance, because you're showing up differently everywhere, because you're being yourself fully rather than being different versions for different audiences. That's available, that's possible. That's what happens when you stop waiting for external change and start creating internal transformation that then expresses itself everywhere, in everything, with everyone. Shoulders dropping, like weight I didn't know I was carrying, is finally releasing change. Let's sit with that word. Change implies becoming different, shifting from one state to another, moving from here to there. And change can be scary, can trigger resistance, can activate fear of losing what's familiar, even when familiar is uncomfortable. But change can also be liberating, can be exciting, can be invitation to finally become who you've always been underneath all the conditioning, all the performing, all the adapting to others' expectations. Can be permission to let go of who you thought you had to be and embrace who you actually are. And that kind of change, that's not loss. That's not scary. That's coming home. That's finally arriving at yourself after a long journey of being who others needed you to be, who circumstances seemed to require you to be, who you thought you had to be to stay safe, stay accepted, stay loved. But you don't. Don't have to be anyone except yourself. Don't have to perform. Don't have to adapt. Don't have to shrink or expand or twist yourself into shapes that fit others' expectations. You can just be. Be yourself. Be authentic. Be real. And that authenticity, that's what creates real change. That's what transforms whole life. Because when you stop performing and start being, everything shifts. Relationships reconfigure around real you instead of performed you. Work reflects actual interests instead of should be interests. Life aligns with genuine values instead of adopted values. Everything changes not because external circumstances transformed, but because you stopped pretending and started being real, and real you creates different reality than performed you. Real you makes different choices, attracts different people, experiences everything differently. So, yes, your whole life is about to change, is changing, through you choosing authenticity over performance, through you choosing being over doing, through you choosing yourself over who you think you should be. Entire face softening like muscles held tight for years are finally permitted to relax. This is huge. And it is. It really is. Not because something external is about to happen, but because something internal is happening right now. You're reading this, you're considering it, you're allowing possibility that change doesn't require external catalyst, but rather internal choice. That's huge. That's massive. That's shift in awareness that can restructure everything if you let it, if you work with it, if you choose to act from it rather than just think about it. Because awareness without action is just information, interesting information maybe, but not transformative, not change creating, not life altering. action based on awareness, that's what creates change. That's what transforms. That's what makes life different, not just in how you think about it, but in how you actually live it. So act, choose, do something different today based on this awareness, something small, something simple, something that represents new way of being rather than old pattern continuing. Maybe it's saying no when you'd usually say yes to please someone. Maybe it's being honest when you'd usually perform acceptable response. Maybe it's choosing what you actually want instead of what you think you should want. Maybe it's showing up as yourself instead of as who you think others need you to be. Small action, but based on new awareness, based on recognition that you